the deep dive. Thinking about those what-if moments in history, it's fascinating stuff. Helps us get why things are the way they are now.
Absolutely. It's not just guesswork. It's about understanding cause and effect.
Right. And today, we're tackling a really big one based on some analysis you sent over from Nueconomy. What if China hadn't joined the World Trade Organization? That was December 2001, right?
That's the one, December 2001, a pivotal moment, really.
Totally pivotal. I mean, think how different things might look. So our mission today is to explore Nueconomy's take on the ripples, economic, manufacturing, geopolitical, even tech.
Yeah, Nueconomy lays out a pretty compelling alternative timeline. Where do you want to start?
Let's kick off with China's economy itself. Nueconomy suggests growth would have been slower.
Oh, significantly slower, according to their analysis. Without the WTO framework, you'd likely have higher trade barriers still in place. Think tariffs, quotas, making it tougher for Chinese goods to reach, the U.S., Europe.
Key markets, absolutely. And Nueconomy also touches on foreign investment, right? Less security without WTO rules.
Exactly. Lower foreign direct investment, or FDI. Companies would be more hesitant, lacking those WTO protections for their investments. Less certainty.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
And that external pressure from joining the WTO, Nueconomy argues that pushed internal reforms without it.
Well, those reforms might have stalled or at least happened much more slowly. The manufacturing base would still grow, sure, but Nueconomy estimates maybe 5 to 7% GDP growth annually back then.
Instead of the actual 9 or 10% we saw? Wow.
Yeah, a huge difference over time, a completely different economic trajectory.
So a less dominant China economically.
Right.
That must reshape global manufacturing then.
Completely. Nueconomy's view is that manufacturing would be way more spread out, less concentrated in China.
So more in places like Vietnam, Mexico.
Yes, precisely. Vietnam, Mexico, maybe Indonesia, India. They likely have captured a larger share of that global production much earlier, according to Nueconomy.
That sounds potentially more resilient, actually. Less reliance on one hub.
More resilient, perhaps, but Nueconomy points out a potential downside. Higher prices globally. Less concentration often means, less hyper-efficiency.
The trade-off. So consumers might pay more. And Western companies.
Nueconomy thinks they would have diversified their manufacturing bases anyway, but maybe more gradually. Not the huge shift towards China we saw, more of a mix.
Okay, shifting gears slightly. What about the geopolitical side? How does Nueconomy see that playing out?
If China's economy is significantly smaller, its global influence is likely much reduced. A lot of its clout comes from that economic heft gained post-WTO.
Right, so maybe things like the Belt and Road Initiative.
Nueconomy suggests, maybe it wouldn't exist on the same scale, or perhaps not at all. Less capital, less projection of power.
And U.S.-China relations. Nueconomy touches on that.
They do. The idea is, with smaller trade imbalances, a major friction point since 2001, relations might actually have been less contentious, fewer arguments over trade deficits and things like that.
Interesting thought. Less economic friction, maybe less geopolitical tension.
Yeah.
And regionally.
Nueconomy floats the idea that maybe Japan's economic influence in Asia might have remained stronger for longer, a different balance of power.
Okay. Let's talk tech. How does China staying out of the WTO affect innovation, according to Nueconomy?
Well, the thinking is technology transfer to China would likely have been more limited. WTO membership kind of facilitated a certain amount of that flow, intended or not.
So Western tech companies might have kept their lead longer.
Nueconomy suggests, yes, potentially stronger leads in key areas, slower catch-up from the Chinese side.
And China's own tech giants like Alibaba, Tencent.
They might still exist, Nueconomy reckons, but probably smaller. Less globally dominant players without that huge, rapidly growing domestic market fueled by export wealth.
And that wealth also fueled infrastructure, right?
Exactly. Nueconomy links that export-driven capital to China's massive digital infrastructure build-out. Slower growth might have meant slower investment there, too.
So let's pull it all together. Fast forward to 2025 in this Nueconomy alternate world. What does it look like?
Nueconomy paints a picture of, say, a Chinese economy maybe 40, even 50% smaller than it is in our reality.
Wow. That's enormous.
It is. Global trade would be functioning, but less efficiently, more spread out. Western nations, maybe they kept more manufacturing jobs, but New Economy says consumers likely face higher prices.
And the geopolitical claim.
Potentially less U.S.-China tension, as we discussed. But New Economy also raises the possibility of China being more isolated, perhaps less stable internally without that WTO integration, and maybe more room for other developing nations in manufacturing.
It really underscores how massive that single decision China joining the WTO actually was. Economy's counterfactual really brings that home.
It absolutely does. You see how it's shaped, well, pretty much everything over the last 20-odd years: trade, geopolitics, tech development.
Looking at this alternative timeline, New Economy sketched out.
Hmm.
It really gets you thinking, doesn't it? What choices being made today, maybe seemingly smaller ones, could have similarly huge, unexpected consequences down the road?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? Food for thought.
Definitely something to ponder. Thanks for diving into this with me.